would like to thank all of the elected officials, state agency leaders, program directors, parents, and community members who've joined us today. Before we get started with the program, we do have a little bit of housekeeping. So we do have simultaneous Spanish-English interpretation for this webinar. If you look at the bottom toolbar of your Zoom, it will say English or interpretation, and you need to toggle between English and Spanish. Select the one that you are most comfortable with so you can hear our interpreter when she's interpreting our English words into Spanish or our Spanish words into English. We are here today on behalf of the Right from the Start campaign, a campaign led by a great team of advocates in Rhode Island to advance policies for young children and their families in the state. Right from the Start is a legislative and budget campaign that was launched in 2020 to advocate for our policy changes that will help ensure all young children and their families get off to the right start, regardless of race, ethnicity, immigration status, family structure, family income, or zip code. During the COVID-19 crisis, it's become even more clear that policies and programs that help families with young children are essential for a strong economy, and public health investments now will help our state and Rhode Island's young children and families weather this crisis and emerge stronger on the other side. Before we get started, I wanted to take a few minutes to recognize the General Assembly members that we have on the call today, champions of issues important to children and families in Rhode Island. With us today are Senator Alana DiMario, and I think we're also expecting Representative Liana Cassar, and also want to recognize Secretary of State Nellie Gorbea, who we will be hearing from in just a little bit. We appreciate all of your support and dedication and look forward to working with you this year. I'd also like to introduce our members of our steering committee. From Beautiful Beginnings, Khadijah Lewis-Kahn. From Economics Progress Institute, Rachel Flum. From the Latino Policy Institute, Marcela Bentoncourt. From the Rhode Island Association of Infant Mental Health, Susan Dickstein. Of course, I am from the Rhode Island Association for the Education of Young Children. From the Rhode Island Head Start Association, Mary Varr. And from Rhode Island Kids Count, Leanne Barrett. And we have a great number of other campaign champions, different organizations and agencies in the state. And if you would like to sign up to be a campaign champion and you haven't already, there is the link there, or you can visit our website. Just quickly want to go through our 2021 legislative and budget priorities. We are looking to get a lot of work done this year. So the first one is to enact strong state and federal revenue policies to pass both the Rhode Island Child Care is Essential Act and the Rhode Island Educators Investment Act, and also to strengthen and improve our paid family leave program. In addition to that, we are also looking to support our community-based doula services and cover those services through Medicaid and private health insurance, to address our staffing crisis in our early intervention and our family home visiting programs, to maintain our state funding and access in Rhode Island pre-K and our Head Start programs, and finally, to address what we are here to do today, to pass our question 3 and question 5 on the special election, which will be between now and March 2nd, to expand access to affordable housing and to help our early learning programs in the state improve. Here's a little bit more about these questions, and you will actually be hearing quite a bit more in the coming few minutes. There is, like I said, there's a special election between now and March 2nd for affordable housing and early childhood and a number of other initiatives. The deadline to request your mail ballot has already passed, but early in-person voting and mail-in voting is happening right now. And question 3 will authorize $65 million in borrowing to expand access to affordable housing. Question 5 will authorize an additional $15 million to improve early learning program facilities, which also include our home-based child care providers. So we are going to jump right into our webinar, and I am honored to officially introduce you now to our own Secretary of State, Nellie Gorbea, who is here to talk to us more today about this special bond election, why it's so important to vote, and the ways in which you can vote between now and March 2nd. And she has prepared some slides for us. Oh, Secretary, I think you're muted.
But I started out so well and so elegantly. Okay. No, thank you very much, Lisa, and thanks to all of you, many of whom I've worked with for many, many decades at this point, to improve the well-being of our families and our children here in Rhode Island. And thank you for the opportunity for speaking to you today. So those of you who know me know that these causes are near and dear to my heart. As a working mom of 3, question, and actually also the Executive Director of Housing Works, Rhode Island, questions 3 and 5 in the upcoming special election really hit home for me, all pun intended. The way to move a holistic, affordable housing and childcare agenda is to have people participate in the democratic process. Now, so if you've ever wondered, what can I do? You can vote. So today, as your Secretary of State, I'm going to provide you with the information and the resources that we can help people understand why it matters to vote, what's on the ballot in this special election, and how it affects their lives. So let's get going here. All right. So the bonds, there'll be 7 bond questions on the ballot for the March 2nd special election. Usually, historically, those bonds have been part of the November election, but because of COVID and the economic uncertainty that the pandemic brought on our state, the General Assembly, the governor, decided to create this new special election. And I actually think this is a good opportunity for many of us who tend to if they haven't looked at these questions before, now you can look at them in great detail and get a sense of how important these questions are to the future of our state. So they represent $400 million in investment. Now, let's take a look at how you can vote on the special election. Now, the good news is that thanks to our elections last year, Rhode Islanders are now much more familiar with these safe and secure voting options. We still have a pandemic going on. And so, we want to make sure that people realize that you have the option to vote from home with the mail ballot, vote early in person at your city or town hall, or up to 20 days before the election, and that period actually just started today, or at the polls on election day. And so quickly looking at the calendar, so you just have a sense of where we are. The deadline to register to vote already passed, so we're going to be going with whoever is on the voter rolls right now at the location that they're registered. And the deadline, as Lisa mentioned, the deadline to return your mail ballot application has passed. That was yesterday. But you can still say, you wanted to vote early in person, but then got a COVID positive diagnosis, God forbid, but if that does happen, you can still apply for an emergency mail ballot if something comes up. And that's an important sort of stopgap measure that you need to know. So in case you have to quarantine. We've had 90,000 mail ballots requested already, which is the 3rd most of any election in Rhode Island ever. And then early in-person voting starts today and runs up to March 1st. And it works the same as when you go vote at the polls. You show your ID, you receive your ballot, you fill it out, and put it into the voting machine. This was a very popular activity in November because you could choose any of the 20 days to go up. You just have to be there between business hours for your city or town hall. If you choose to vote on election day, keep in mind that there are 57 polling locations that are open on March 2nd. So that's a lot fewer than there have been for a regular election. So it's probable that your polling place is going to be different than it was in November. So make sure you check on vote.ri.gov. That's a website I want everybody to know by heart, vote.ri.gov, because it has all your information that you ever might need. The polling locations on March 2nd will be open their normal times, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And do remember that all ballots including mail ballots, have to be received or be put into an elections drop box by 8 p.m. on election day. Now, again, there's a lot of information on elections, and you don't have to return it. I just remembered that somebody is simultaneously translating, so I should slow down a little bit. Sorry, Shirley. All of this information is available on vote.ri.gov at our Voter Information Center. That's the one-stop shop place for voters to register to vote or update their voter information. You can also look at your sample ballot. You can find a polling place to vote on election day. So remember, there's only 57 polling locations. You can find the drop box location to return your mail ballot if you don't want to put it in the mail. You can actually put it into a drop box location at your near, and they're usually near city or town halls. And for those of you who are voting by mail, you can track the status of your mail ballot, meaning when the application is received, when the mail ballot is sent out to you, when it's received, the ballot is received, and whether it has been approved for counting. So whenever in doubt, remember, go to vote.ri.gov, and all of the information is both in English and in Spanish. Hay un botón para español. If you scroll down a little bit more on that page, you can see a ton of information about elections in Rhode Island, but specifically for today, I want you to look at tools to engage your community, which is circled in red. The tools to engage your community page, you're going to find a guide with sample messaging and images about key election dates and deadlines. Our voting information handbook, which you should have received. Every household should have received a green voter handbook like this one that I'm holding up. But if you haven't received it, or your kids took it to play with and make origami, or the dog took it, you can download it or look at it online on this webpage. We also have frequently asked questions and answers, animations, a lot of information, and we do them, all of them. All of them are hard translated into Spanish. So this is not Google Translate, this is actual Spanish language translations of everything, including the animations, the what we call the cartoons. So please, the idea is that we can provide you with the trusted information on how the election happens and what are the dates and what is it that you need to vote in terms of the voter information. That allows you to fill in the blanks with advocacy information about these wonderful questions that we're going to be going over today. And so if you have any questions, please contact us. On the screen are our email, elections@sos.ri.gov, or you can call us at 222-2340. We do have Spanish language personnel that can answer questions as well in Spanish. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. And I'm calling on each of you to be an advocate for voting in this special election, because we are stronger when we do act together. Thanks.
That was amazing. And I know the website is so easy to use. We use it all the time. And my mail ballot just hit my mailbox a couple days ago, and I've already voted. So I hope you all have a plan to vote and a plan to encourage others to do the same. And there is quite a bit of advocacy happening all over the state, which is really great. You know, it's just very encouraging that there's so many people involved in the election process. It's amazing. So let's talk about the questions. We're actually going to start with question 5, and our very first guest today is Khadijah Lewis Khan. Khadijah is the executive director at Beautiful Beginnings Child Care Center in Providence, and she's going to talk to us about bond question 5 and its importance to the early childhood programs across the state. So you are up, Khadijah.
All right. So I want to encourage everyone to support question 5. It is the bond bill that would invest $15 million in early learning programs for capital improvements. So capital improvements for child care centers are often things that are put off because centers operate on very thin budgets. So this bond would actually affect child care centers and family child care homes. Um, and allow us to make the improvements necessary, not only due to COVID, which some child care centers don't have operable windows and proper ventilation, things that prior to COVID, you know, your HVAC system would take care of, but now we need to make sure fresh air is coming into our rooms and we have proper circulation. And there's other improvements for playground, HVAC upgrades, and other measures that need to be taken to make sure that we provide the best environment for our children. Those are the COVID related ones. Now, parents can't come into the building anymore, so some places need a covered area or awning to welcome families. We're taking in babies and the different weather conditions. So those are COVID related capital improvements. But prior to COVID, many programs needed to make upgrades to their facilities in general. Health and safety upgrades to the playground, to their roof, to the building envelope. And this bond is something that will give us a chance to make sure we're providing the best environment for our youngest learners. In early childhood ed, we think of the environment as the third teacher. It's that important, you know, how the program looks when a family and a child is entering it tells us how much we value those people in the building. So this small investment of $15 million will really go a long way for small grants to programs to make the improvements necessary. So I really highly encourage you to please support question 5 on the bond investment. Some of our neighboring states have done so and have been very successful in expanding spaces for children and also upgrading the quality of the spaces that we currently have to make sure our youngest learners get the best start.
Thanks, Khadija. We have invited another family child care provider, or a family child care provider, to join us today. Alexandra Flores is a family child care provider in Providence and a member of SEIU 1199. Unfortunately, she cannot make it today, but we also have Maria Fajardo here from SEIU 1199 who has a few words to share with us. I believe she will be speaking in Spanish, so we'll see if our interpretation works.
Ok, como dijo Lisa, mi nombre es María Fajardo y antes de ser organizadora de la Unión 1199, también fui proveedora por 10 años y medio. O sea que yo realmente sí entiendo todas las necesidades que están pasando las proveedoras, los centros, como acaba de decir la compañera. Y entiendo que la pregunta número 5 es bien importante, que la proveedora y la familia también entiendan lo importante que es en este momento tan especial que estamos viviendo, para ponerlo de una manera diferente que lo que es el COVID, para que tengan todos los recursos que necesitan y poder recibir a las familias cada mañana y que se sientan conformes de que su niño va a estar seguro, adecuado, cuidado. Y la protección, como decimos, es número uno para todo, que la familia y los niños estén protegidos. Y pregunta número 5, me comprometo como mi organización 1199, como organizadora, de que todas las proveedoras entiendan qué es lo que está pasando y qué es lo que debemos hacer cada uno, de ir a sacar ese día para ir a votar a votar no solamente porque hay que ir, sino porque tenemos todo que ir por el beneficio de la educación de nuestros niños, por la familia, que es por lo que trabajamos.
Thank you, Maria. That was great. Maria found out about 5 minutes before we started that she was going to speak today, and that was just amazing. That was great. Okay, so next up is Erin from LISC. So in Rhode Island, LISC manages the Child Care and Early Learning Facilities Fund, and they are a fabulous partner in this work. They've worked with countless early learning programs across the state to assist in planning and executing projects big and small. Erin is here with us to also show us some examples of the impact that the funding can make in a child care program.
Hi, everyone. I think I'm waiting for some slides to pop up.
Yep, that's you, Leanne.
So access to high quality care across our mixed delivery system is critical, and having the right space and environment is key. We know that we actually just don't have enough space for the children that require care. We wanted to quickly share a few examples of the kinds of projects that could benefit from this incredibly important investment. And this isn't just for new ground up buildings. There are all kinds of solutions for creating new spaces and improving existing ones as well. So here's Beautiful Beginnings. We just heard from Khadijah a couple of minutes ago, who in 2003, they purchased a former Verizon warehouse and converted it into a high quality center serving more than 150 young children after a substantial renovation with subsequent health and safety improvements over time. If not for making the leap from a small commercial retail space and seeing the vision for what a warehouse could become, they might not have been able to expand and serve the number of children they do today. A dilapidated and nationally registered historic building in the Woonsocket Constitution Hill neighborhood was sitting dormant until NeighborWorks Blackstone River Valley proposed to renovate and revive this rapidly deteriorating space, pooling resources from a variety of places, including being the first project in the nation to use new markets tax credits. This adaptive reuse and significant renovation catalyzed a neighborhood. It created a series of new jobs, and it created spaces for 104 children in the city. And we know that readily available buildings and an abundance of land are limited and incredibly costly. But sometimes there can be creative solutions to expand in existing programs. Take, for instance, this room conversion at East Bay Community Action Program's East Providence site. Needing to create a new state pre-K classroom, they took an unused space, added children's bathrooms for improved access and supervision, and added secure entry to the building to meet licensing requirements. Voila! All of a sudden, a high-quality classroom is born with just a few simple and very strategic additions to the space. And my favorite thing, we never want to underestimate the importance of outdoor space, especially in the middle of a pandemic. At the Cornerstone School in Cranston, a renovation of the playground replaced damaged safety surfacing, an aging and unsafe play structure, non-compliant fencing and barriers, and addressed ADA accessibility. And here's a very simple example of a small investment in a family child care home, replacing unsafe, non-compliant fencing to create a safe and secure environment for children, giving them more opportunity to play outside and get fresh air while meeting licensing regulations. This bond, this investment in our Rhode Island kiddos, has the ability to make both large-scale and even seemingly insignificant changes and improvements to facilities that will have a positive impact on children, families, and educators that utilize and need these spaces.
Erin, I think Liz could probably present for hours and hours and show us examples of all of the work that they've done. and also plans that programs really have. So when we kept her to 5 minutes, I'm sure that was a bit of a challenge. But thank you for joining us. And that also kind of triggers us to switch gears a little bit. So now we are going to talk about question 3. So we have invited Brenda Clement here to join us. Brenda is the Director of Housing Works Rhode Island at Roger Williams University, which envisions a Rhode Island in which communities embrace a variety of housing choices so that residents, regardless of income, can live in healthy quality homes in vibrant and thriving neighborhoods. She is going to talk to us about the importance of voting yes on question 3.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today and show my support. A few years back, I was working at a housing group in Massachusetts and working with housing advocates there to pass a bond issue there. In Massachusetts, they do things in the billions rather than the millions, and so it was a $1.4 billion housing bond. And our board chair at the time said the child care folks would like to talk to us about incorporating and working together on a bond and adding some housing to that. And she initially thought it was going to be a hard sell for me, and didn't know that I have a strong passion and support for child care issues. My mother has been a longtime child care provider, running our church-based nursery school and daycare. Just retired this year at age 82 after 53 years in the business. And so for me, it was a logical connection that childcare supports and places for safe places for our children to learn every day was critical. One of my colleagues, Nick Retsinas, talks all the time that homes are where jobs go to live at night. And so parents who are dropping their children off at daycare and going to their jobs need to know that they have a secure place for their child, but also for a secure place for that child to sleep each night. So to me, these are critical resources and support that we have and work closely together. Housing and I know my colleague Joe will talk a little bit about it, but the housing is integral to our neighborhood and community development as well too. And so it is. We hope that you'll also support the housing bond. Rhode Island is one of the few states that does not have regular funding for housing in the state budget, and we have some of the oldest housing stock in the country. So we have a lot of catch-up work to do. But to me, these issues go hand in hand, and so glad to be here to show my support. Vote yes on 3, but vote yes on 5, and hopefully we'll be able to work on these issues as well. And now I think we're going to watch a video from our Vote Yes on 3 campaign that kind of puts a face on the need for housing. So I'll let you take it over.
I had just myself and the 2 kids, and I wanted to buy a house because I had a good job. I called a real estate agent, and they told me that I should save a down payment, closing costs, and that was just not an option because I lived month to month. I kind of felt like a failure. I just wanted something better for my kids and I. You know, I want them to have a bedroom that has heat in it, that is insulated, a place where they could have their friends over and be proud. Especially my daughter, she's always struggled with changes and anxiety. What if I couldn't give that to my daughter? I was willing to do whatever it took. I saw a piece of paper and it said Unique Home Ownership Program. It says that it's for lower income. You have to do 60% of the building every weekend until you're done. They teach you everything. But I showed my father, and he was like, it's worth a shot. You never know. It had been such a long road that I'm like, well, this is something that just doesn't happen, And then she called me and she said, you're in. You've got it. I'm like, what do you mean I've got it? I got goosebumps. She's like, you made it. You qualified for a home that is yours forever. I called my dad. My dad can't believe it. And he was so proud. no, no, no. And then all of a sudden they're saying, yes, we're going to help you. Yeah, I think everybody who's working hard and really trying to give their family a place to live should have that opportunity. Affordable housing, it meets people where they are. People need to know that this isn't about giving anything away. Believe me, they don't give it away. This program is for families that have the means to pay a rent or a mortgage and work hard. It's not a handout, it's a hand up. What building my own house did gave me that confidence to be like, you know, I am worth it. And the house has given us stability, especially my daughter. It's helped her so much. It gives her confidence, and she never has to worry about having a home to go to. She's going to go to college. She's going to come home. This is home.
Thank you. And housing advocates like me say all the time that the path to economic opportunity begins at your front door, and everybody needs and deserves that safe place.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. That was amazing, and you know the videos are so impactful. That family is wonderful, and yeah, that was great. So Brenda mentioned that Joe Garlick is here with us also today to talk about question 5. So Joe is the executive director at NeighborWorks Blackstone River Valley, a nonprofit community development corporation that works with residents, businesses, neighborhood institutions, partners, and communities to enrich neighborhood life and make affordable housing opportunities available throughout northern Rhode Island. So Joe is here, and I don't think his video works, but he is here to talk to us.
Great, thank you. I apologize for the lack of video. I'm here to lend the strong support of Rhode Island's nonprofit CDCs, Community Development Corporations, to the passage of Bond Question 5, a $15 million investment in Rhode Island's early learning infrastructure. In conjunction with my organization's affordable housing work, the development of early learning and after-school centers is at the very top of the list of community and economic development best practices. In fact, the more that these investments are made in tandem, the better for families, neighborhoods, and businesses. For parents, the opportunity to start your workday by leaving your children at a quality, beautiful learning center close to home is absolutely essential. Same goes for the other end of the day. And I learned this the hard way 26 years ago when I was late picking up my daughter due to traffic, ambulances, fire trucks, whatever. She greeted me with folded arms, a tear-streaked face, and said, "Dad, I'm the last one here." And she hasn't let me forget it since. Number 5 is absolutely well worth the investment. It will be the best grassroots economic development the state will undertake over the next couple of years. It has my vote, and I hope it has yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. And also here to join us, coming in, you know, right underneath the wire, is Courtneynicolado. Courtney is going to wrap us up today, and she is the president and CEO of the United Way of Rhode Island. United Way of Rhode Island is working towards uniting our community and providing resources to build racial equity and opportunities for all Rhode Islanders. And she would like to talk to us about why passing these bond questions is so important to our state, and also to give us a little bit of a rah-rah call to action right at the end.
Awesome, Lisa, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you who are here and who are really just incredible champions for our community. There is lots of moments, I feel like, over the last year where we've all sat back and said, the time is now. We need you now. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it one more time because it is really critical to have your support and your advocacy with these bond referendums and with this bond election. I will tell you, I am very privileged and grateful for the Secretary of State and her leadership. I got my mail ballot. I filled it out in my slippers and got it right back out the door. It could not be easier to do that and to participate in the process. Also, we need your help telling your fellow neighbors, your family and friends to get out and to vote. This is not a traditional election. This does not have really long ballots. And so we need to get the word out on why it is so critically important. And the reason is we need to build up our economy. We need to have a safe and affordable place for folks to live. We don't want Rhode Islanders to leave because of lack of opportunity. We want them to stay. And that means leveraging these critical resources that have been made available to us in our community. And I'm such a huge proponent. I will share for number one, as a URI Board of Trustee member, the importance of our education system, the importance of growing our education system so that we can be competitive is critically important to our state. Number three, and ensuring that we all have a safe and affordable place to rest our heads so that our kids can thrive, so that we can ensure our safety and well-being through this incredible pandemic is critically important. But I will share that with question three, we need to all know, and I'm sure Brenda has said this, and my apologies for being late today, but we are in a housing crisis. We have to call it for what it is. We have to recognize that this bond is pivotal as we think about the really health and well-being. Housing is healthcare, and we need to call that for what it is. And so this bond and the $65 million to support the bond could not be more important. But we are here to talk about the importance of our kids. We are here to understand and appreciate that number 5 could not be more important right now. Our kids need to be able to have a safe, high-quality place to go to, and our families need to know that our kids are safe so that they can be the best that they can be in the workplace. We have access issues here. They need to be fixed. We need to ensure that our kids have the resources that they need so that then they can walk in boldly into the classroom, so that they can continue their education at our higher ed institutions. It's all part of the journey for economic viability and economic stability here in the state of Rhode Island. These bonds are life-changing for the Rhode Island community. We need to say yes to these bonds and need to do whatever we can to tell our friends why this, specifically question 5, is important to you. So thank you to each and every one of you again for being steadfast champions in the work of our community that you want, and all are here to say, we know that there is problems to fix and we're all in to fix them. Our first step in being all in is to take that pen and circle very all the way in, as Nellie will tell you, all the way in for the questions, and ensuring that we continue to build economic opportunity here in the state of Rhode Island. So thank you, Lisa and team, for your leadership and the opportunity to share my thoughts today.
She would be fabulous at giving us our charge. And so that is, that's great. So if anybody is out there watching us on this webinar or out there in Facebook land who is interested in joining our advocacy campaigns, please let us know. Please email right from the start. We will put you in touch with the right people. There are toolkits developed with all kinds of information. We'll make it as easy as we can for you to advocate for yourself and for your friends and your neighbors and your family to get out there and vote. And then lastly, we just want to remind you that Right From the Start has additional Zoom events that we are hosting in the next several weeks and months. We have one coming up on February 24th that will cover childcare, Head Start, and Rhode Island pre-K inclusion in the state budget. We will also be talking about our paid family leave program, including Medicaid services, or having Medicaid and health insurance cover doula services. In April, we'll be talking about worthy wages and our Rhode Island Early Educator Investment Act. And then don't forget, we will also have Strolling Thunder, which is a yearly event that Rhode Island Kids Count hosts, and it will be our 10th anniversary for Child Care Awareness Day through the Legislative Commission on Child Care, that is chaired by Rep. Grace Diaz, and also Early Childhood Advocacy Day. So it is going to be a very busy spring. We know we are asking a lot of you, but please get in touch with us if you are interested in additional advocacy or becoming a champion for right from the start. And that concludes our program. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks for our next webinar. Thanks, everybody.